Welcome to an hour of HealthMade Radio. HealthMade is a community for natural health seekers where we educate people about common health conditions and share extensive research on the most effective natural health treatments and promote legislation that protects our health freedoms. A core concept belief is in the innate intelligence and healing power of the body, and if properly supported spiritually, emotionally, and nutritionally, it can find its way back to health. HealthMade Radio will bring you information from integrative health experts throughout the world. Check us out at healthmade.co. Health is what you make it. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt, and I will be your host. Today's guest is Dr. Jack Wolfson. Jack Wolfson, DO, is a board-certified cardiologist who grew tired of patients failing to truly get well using pharmaceuticals and procedures. As a result, he opened Wolfson Integrative Cardiology, where he now uses in-depth testing and targeted nutrition to prevent and treat cardiovascular disease. He treats the whole person, getting to the cause of the issue instead of treating only the symptoms. Dr. Wolfson offers practical solutions for heart health in person at his office in Paradise Valley, Arizona. He's the author of the Amazon bestseller, The Paleo Cardiologist. Audiences across the globe are entertained and informed by Dr. Wolfson with his unique ability to show people how to live healthy, naturally, without prescription medicine or invasive procedure. Dr. Wolfson, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Dr. Michael, thank you so much. Pleasure to talk with you and just to share all this information with the world, because obviously people are not getting natural health and wellness and preventive information from their average medical doctor. We have to continue to shine the light on the truth and show people real preventive strategies for any and every disease.
And thank you for being such a beacon of light in this area, because I mean, talking about heart health, I mean, it is the number one killer. And what kind of solutions do the medical profession offer currently in this area?
Well, when it comes to prevention, really, the medical doctors have nothing. It's just like an empty bag, that people have. And what we want to do is that just to show people that the real prevention comes from things like food, comes from living the healthy lifestyle, getting outside, physically active. It's about the importance and health benefits of sunshine and sleep, and evidence-based supplements to supplement the healthy lifestyle. All those things are so critically important, but the medical doctors aren't going into that. Medicine typically has become a 10-minute office visit, and it's a hello, how are you, here's your prescription, goodbye. And I know that because that's the way and the environment that I practiced in for 16 years.
And what, I mean, you started off as a cardiologist. I mean, first of all, why did you go into that field? Why was that your passion?
Well, my father was a cardiologist, so from my earliest days, I wanted to follow exactly in his footsteps. And he was a doctor of osteopathic medicine. He went to osteopathic school not because he had a love of the philosophy, but because he had a cousin that went to osteopathic school. He went to go visit his cousin, and he liked the school, and he liked some of the ideas. And then he decided to go to school there. So growing up, all I knew was DOs. And I worshiped my father, I idolized my father, and I just followed exactly in his footsteps to the Chicago College of Osteopathic Medicine. And I became a cardiologist just like him. So now I'm out in practice for a couple of years, and I saw my father get sick, and I saw him eventually die from a Parkinson's-like illness. And the doctors at the Mayo Clinic had no idea why he was sick. They had no treatment for him, and they said he'll be dead within 3 years, and my father died a torturous and cruel death within those 3 years. And along the way, I met a woman, and the woman is a doctor of chiropractic, and the woman says, I know exactly why your father got sick. It's because of his food intake, because of his pharmaceutical use, because of the environment he lives in and the radiation that cardiologists are exposed to. So Here comes this doctor of chiropractic. She tells me why my father is sick and dying. The Mayo Clinic has no idea, and the doctor of chiropractic, she's got all the ideas. And Michael, it made perfect sense. Yeah. And I started to read, I started to change, I started to make differences in my life, and eventually left the big cardiology group and started my own practice.
And so in addition to what happened to your father, I mean, what were you seeing? I mean, because obviously as a cardiologist, you were thinking that you were helping people, but in addition to then the experience with your dad, I mean, you must have then, what didn't you see that you wanted to see in your own practice as a cardiologist?
Yeah, most certainly. You know, medicine today is just, once again, quick office visits, in and out, cover up the symptoms as fast as you can, try and order some tests to make extra money. It sounds cynical, but it is the truth, and it's just the way that we practice. And I would sit in meetings and we talked about best medical practice, but we mostly talked about how to make more money. And all the while, the hospital, once again, is like a revolving door. People come in with a heart attack. They're in the hospital for a few days, and then you send them back out. And then a few months later, maybe they come in with a pharmaceutical side effect, or they come in with another heart attack, or they need more procedures. You're never actually solving anything. It's all about quick Band-Aid cover-ups. And that was frustrating to me, because you'd see someone who's on 4 or 5 blood pressure drugs, like 4 to 5 blood pressure drugs, and they're still hypertensive. Their blood pressure is still high, and you're left shaking your head. Why are we not fixing these people? And the answer is because we never address the cause. And that's what my wife told me initially, that the kind of secret amongst the DCs, the doctor of chiropractic, is that they're DC's doctor of cause. And she said, you have to become a doctor of cause. And that's what I did. I started to read about nutrition. I started to read about the importance of a healthy environment and avoiding chemicals and toxins, and the importance, once again, of sunshine and sleep and chiropractic care. You know, the evidence on chiropractic care, and all my patients have to be under the care of a chiropractor. And personally, I think that the chiropractor should be the go-to, and is the go-to, for all things health and wellness related. So if you're looking for a healthy opinion about how to live, the best way, go see the chiropractor. Do not go to the medical doctor, because they've got no skill set in that arena. So, chiropractic, for example, can increase heart rate variability, which is great for heart health. Chiropractic can lower average heart rate, which is great for heart health, and boost immune function, great for heart health. Lowers blood pressure 17/10. So I guess if you take one message from this interview is for the people to, run out and make sure you're under chiropractic care, and that's a great start to health.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I have a number of chiropractors in my center, and it's just amazing what I see, what they do, and how that support an individual coming back to health. So the medical model, you have an individual, they get lab tests, they do like a comprehensive metabolic panel, they do a CBC, and then they do a lipid panel, and all the numbers look good, and they think, oh, I'm healthy. What is your view on that snapshot? Does that reflect the individual's health, or is there more to it?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, the medical doctors these days, they're just doing the basics. They're doing the basic blood tests. And they're not doing, what is really necessary. They're not doing the in-depth, testing that they really need to. And certainly when it comes to health and wellness, you got to go so much more in depth. And you're looking at advanced lipids, you're looking at advanced particle numbers, particle sizes, markers of inflammation, oxidative stress. You're looking at all the different heavy metals. And, I think, once again, is that, the naturopathic physician is so uniquely skilled at going after that information. And so, to be under the care of a naturopath for primary care, I think is so huge. And because they're going to do, they're just trained to go a lot more in depth, and they do not have the, pharmaceutical first mentality. They're going to go after all this advanced information, and it's really exciting. So I mean, for me as a cardiologist, to open up my eyes to heavy metal testing and markers of leaky gut and looking at serum levels of glutathione. I mean, once again, you can really go down this rabbit hole with tons of information, but knowledge is power, information is power, and now we can act on the results.
So let's go and chat a little bit about cholesterol. I mean, everyone, they get their, talking about the lipid panel, and you're talking more, going even more in depth about, particle size. But when you do normal lipid panel, all you see is, total cholesterol, LDL and HDL, and then if they look good, then, your heart is healthy. And if they don't look good, then the heart isn't healthy. Then they start saying that, well, you're going to have a heart attack at any moment if you don't get on Lipitor or some kind of cholesterol impacting medication. So what is the real truth when it comes to cholesterol?
Well, I mean, Michael, you know this obviously from your practice. It's just when you're in the holistic space, you have so many different options and so many different things that we can do. When you're a medical doctor, cardiologist, the only thing you can do is recommend statin drugs. The only thing you can recommend is aspirin therapy, things that don't work. So, you can't, there's nothing really they can do besides that. Their toolbox is empty. Frankly, a lot of the cardiologists, they don't even care what your cholesterol numbers are anymore. It's just put a person on the maximum dose of statins based on their risk factors, and the more risk factors they have, the higher the statin dose, and they need not even check lipids anymore. Yet, what I highlight in my book, The Paleocardiologist, The Natural Way to Heart Health, is, the importance of cholesterol, and I put that into chapter 1 called Cholesterol is King, because if we can show people that cholesterol is so important, we can, really open up their eyes to the rest of the message that we're going to put forth. So I talk about the importance of cholesterol for brain function. Cholesterol is our digestion. The majority of our hormones come from cholesterol. New research is showing that the cholesterol in the cell membrane, or the fence that surrounds the cell, is responsible for getting carbon dioxide out of the cell into the bloodstream and then out of the lungs. So it's involved in cellular respiration. This is really, really important stuff. Why does human breast milk have cholesterol? Why does the milk of every animal have cholesterol? It's because that's how a baby's brain is formed. Why does an egg contain cholesterol? Because that's how a chicken comes to life. You can't raise a chicken on oatmeal. So all these things are really important for people to know. Now, that being said, cholesterol comes packaged into LDLs and HDLs for simplicity's sake. There's many more particles that there are, but the liver makes LDL and HDL, and it does so for a purpose. And the LDL takes cholesterol and other passengers around the body where it's needed, and the HDLs take them back to the liver where they're no longer needed. So the body's not making any mistakes. The body is just responding to its environment. And that's what we try and teach people, is that there's a better way than statins. Statins are a horrible, horrible failure.
I'd like to get back and talk a little bit more about cholesterol after we take this short break, because it's such a huge misunderstanding in this area among the public. And I feel if people can truly understand this, we will be able to save millions of lives. We'll be right back, and you're listening to HealthMade Radio, and this is Dr. Michael Karlfeldt chatting with Dr. Jack Wolfson. Welcome back. You're listening to HealthMade Radio. This is Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with cardiologist Jack Wolfson, and he's not any kind of cardiologist. He is the paleocardiologist, which is the name of his Amazon bestseller. Dr. Wolfson, we were talking about cholesterol and how important it is, and you were mentioning that it is actually part of the cell wall membrane, and if we don't have sufficient amount of cholesterol, we're not able to then expel carbon dioxide out of the cell, which obviously would cause the cell to start to poison itself. So why is it then that it is such a strong medical practice to say that cholesterol should be lowered to its as low as possible, and the lower it is, the better in their eyes.
Well, once again, it's just a matter of, it's just all that they have in their toolbox. They've got statin drugs, they've got blood pressure drugs, they've got aspirin. That's all that they have. And, it's a $1 trillion industry, of course. I mean, trillions of dollars have been spent on statin drugs, and of course, many more dollars spent on treating the side effects of the statin drug. But, back in the 1950s and 60s, cholesterol was vilified based on faulty data. They said it was bad, and that's why everybody, even to this day, when they think about cholesterol, they think about heart attack, they think about stroke, they think about, cheesy colored plaque inside of their arteries, instead of thinking about all the health benefits of cholesterol. And, before we were on break, I didn't even mention cholesterol and vitamin D. So it's actually very interesting is that, when you take food, you break it down into a molecule called acetyl-CoA. And then from acetyl-CoA, it can be inhibited by statin drugs. But if you don't let it get inhibited by a statin drug, it goes on to form cholesterol. But before acetyl-CoA becomes cholesterol, right at that final step, it is actually something known as 7-dehydroxycholesterol. And 7-dehydroxycholesterol is coursing through the skin. If the sun hits it, it becomes vitamin D. If the sun doesn't hit it, it becomes cholesterol, and maybe excess cholesterol. So maybe high cholesterol, and there are numbers where it is too high. High cholesterol is a sunshine deficiency syndrome instead of a lack of statin drugs, which obviously it's not. We are built to be in the sun. We need to make a lot of vitamin D from the precursors to cholesterol, and therefore we will find the perfect cholesterol for each one of us.
So in essence, what you're saying is that it is more likely when we have high cholesterol that we are sun deficient rather than statin deficient.
Oh, most certainly. And the literature tells us that people that live closest to the equator obviously get the most amount of sunshine. They have the highest levels of vitamin D, and they have the lowest levels of cholesterol, and they have the lowest risk of heart attack. So our ancestors came from the Middle East. They came from Northern Africa. They came from sunny climates. And the more sun we get, the better. So that's one of the first strategies that I tell people is to get out more in the sun. And, I speak all over the world. I've got patients that come from all over the world to come see me because, as you can imagine, as a holistic cardiologist, there's not much in the way of competition for what I do. I tell people that live in Minnesota. I get a lot of people from Seattle, Portland, Canada, Norway, Russia, Northern Europe. I tell those people when they ask me what they should do, and I tell them to move to a sunny climate. Come down here to Arizona. In Arizona, it's sunny 450 days a year. It's sunny in Arizona at night. So, so that being said, and then if you can't move, obviously, a lot of people, most people aren't going to move, then you better take a lot of vacations. And if you can't take a lot of vacations, you have to deal with the health consequences of it. And anytime that the sun is out, skin is out. The skin is a solar panel for the sun. And it's not just about vitamin D. And vitamin D supplements are not the answer. It's much, much, much more complicated. In fact, I'm sure you know this, Dr. Michael, that recent data shows that when you take vitamin D supplementation, your lipids actually, on average, go up. Because what happens is that now your body says, hey, all this external vitamin D is coming in. I'm not going to make vitamin D, and it all gets shuttled down into excess cholesterol. So I'm a little leery about vitamin D supplements, but if you do take vitamin D supplements, make sure you pair it up with vitamin K2.
Exactly. That's crucial. And I was curious also in regards, with being out in the sun. Everyone seems to be afraid of the sun, and here you're saying that the sun is a solution. And obviously, the sun has been around, for quite some time, and it's been around for a reason, and without it, life wouldn't be. So I don't know, this paranoia that all of a sudden we shouldn't be out in the sun when we know that is what gives life. So what is your thought in regards to, everyone getting skin cancer, so now we stay away from the sun, and what's your thought about that?
Well, I wrote a blog post for the Truth About Cancer website when we spoke at their event, and I put in there 17 cancers that are reduced by sunshine exposure. So the more sun you get, the people with the highest levels of vitamin D have the lowest risk of everything. Where do you get vitamin D from? You get it from the sun. And the literature shows that all these different cancers are reduced either from high D or high sunshine exposure. Now, there may be some question regarding something like melanoma. Some data says that it causes skin cancer. Some data says that it doesn't or actually can be preventive. Why would the sun cause cancer? The sun was here before us in a fatalistic, nihilistic kind of way. The sun will be here after us. All life evolved in the sun. Whether you believe in the biblical version and or the evolutionary version, the sun came first. So why would we think it's harmful? The answer is what's harmful is unsafe and unintelligent sun exposure. So if you have not been out in the sun for a while and your sun is not primed and you get burnt, that's bad. Sunburn is bad. Sunshine is good. But here's the kicker also, is that you want to make sure you embrace that morning sun, that noontime sun, and the afternoon sun, because all of it has extreme benefit. But you want to prime using the morning sun because the atmosphere lets in certain lights that that are different than the noontime sun, which is UVA, UVB. But if the sun was so bad, why would our skin have receptors for UVA, UVB to do so many magical things, including making vitamin D, but also nitric oxide? If UVA, UVB was so bad, why would the back of the eyes are loaded with receptors in the retina for UVA, UVB? Every single cell in the body responds to vitamin D. So, it's very clear when you stack the evidence together, all of it is just all, pseudoscience and conjecture by people that are looking to sell us sickness. They're looking to sell us skincare creams that actually make the situation worse. So go out and embrace the sun. Just do it in a smart way.
Love it. And I know there's been plenty of studies that show the difference between an individual that is antioxidant deficient versus somebody that is just filled with antioxidant. And the individual that is filled with antioxidant being out in the sunshine, they do not develop melanoma. They have a greater protection in that area. And then also, mentioning how we are then exposed to so much toxins around us, and the more toxic our bodies are when we're exposed to the sun, then the body tries to move those toxins out through the skin, and that's where obviously then if we're prone to cancer, that's where it would develop. But as you mentioned, it is it protects the internal cancers. I mean, it's such a lower risk by being out in the sun. So
yeah, and it's just the sun makes melatonin so we can sleep at night. The sun makes the vitamin D. The sun makes nitric oxide released inside of our cells. The sun fuels mitochondria. The sun creates something called the exclusion zone, and the exclusion zone is a very interesting concept for anyone who's listening. Google exclusion zone and watch a YouTube video by Dr. Gerald Pollack. And Gerald Pollack, talks about the exclusion zone, and you'll understand how the blood vessels are lined with something called the exclusion zone, and the sun is what charges that up. So it's really important. But like you just said, Doc, it's about doing the whole package. And if you're going to eat McDonald's cookies and cupcakes and think the sun is going to save you, it's not. You have to follow the whole package, and you got to eat the right foods, and you got to stay away from the chemicals, and you got to get the sun, you got to get away from stress, you got to get that sleep. And when you do all these things together, nature works. That's all there is to it.
Exactly, and I agree with you. If you gotta address health from all different aspects, and it's like when patients come into our center and they deal with something like extreme like cancer, you can't just do one thing. You gotta look from all angles. The emotional aspect, the toxic aspect. How are you absorbing nutrients? What kind of food are you eating? you got to address it and from all angles. And like you mentioned earlier in the interview, that you can truly go down that rabbit hole, with all these different tests to get a clear picture as to why the individual ended up in the situation that they're in.
Yeah, and I think the testing is very motivational. That when you can listen to us talk right now, two doctors having a conversation, and you can you can listen to some of it, take some of it, but when you see your lab results and you see them in front of your face, I think it's very motivational for people to get on the right path. So I think it's very important to learn the information, but also to do the blood work to make sure, once again, that you're really getting everything done that you need to get done, that there's not nutrient deficiencies or not nutrient excess. Because unfortunately, obviously we've all lived not the best lifestyle. All of us have a history of poor nutrition, but certainly environmental toxin exposure. We can't get away from it. And when you can't get away from it, that's where you need to do the testing. You need to do some supplementation very often, to make sure you stay on the right path.
Absolutely. We'll be back in just a short moment. You're listening to HealthMade Radio. This is Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Dr. Jack Wolfson. Welcome back to HealthMade Radio. This is Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Amazon bestseller Dr. Jack Wolfson. Dr. Wolfson, going back a little bit to, we're talking about the toxic world we're living in and all the exposures we have, the poor diet, all the things that are stacked against us, and also the amount of effort that we need to continually put forth to be able to maintain health. It seems like it's getting harder and harder. Then in addition to that, then obviously we have the medical profession that, like you mentioned, it's all about the money, it seems like, and the money is in the management of disease. It's not really in helping an individual to get healthy. And kind of going back a little bit to some of the things that they're doing. I mean, we chatted about cholesterol a little bit, and I apologize for bringing things up again, but I mean, and all the patients that I see and that I know that you see, people that have low cholesterol numbers, they tend to be sicker, and it's harder for them to rebound if they are dealing with something serious, if they're if they have a stroke or heart attack, or if they're dealing with cancer, just because they don't have that buffer, that cholesterol that helps with steroid hormones or cellular protection or immune system support. Is that what you've been seeing as well?
Yeah, most certainly. We've known this from the 1970s, from the Mr. Fit trial. There's definitely a sweet spot for looking at total cholesterol. So the sweet spot is between 160 and 260. So above 260 identifies that there is a problem, and we need to find out why, because they have an increased risk of dying when their cholesterol is above 260. But if your cholesterol is below 160, just like you said, there is something going on. It may be cancer, it may be liver disease, liver dysfunction, kidney disease. So you got to go find out why in that person as well. So what we're all about is just trying to find the perfect numbers for the individual person, because you're different from your next door neighbor and your high school, physical education teacher, and the mailman. Everybody's different. And what we got to do is, use the right nutrition, lifestyle, and all that stuff to make sure we find our right numbers. I mean, but can you imagine, for the poor medical doctor, we never talked about any of these things when it comes to real prevention. We never talked about the importance of sunshine, the importance of a good night's sleep, the importance of physical activity. We never talk about mental health and wellness. We never talk about supporting the body in the right ways. It's just all about the pharmaceuticals. It's all about the latest procedure, the latest surgery, the latest angioplasty and stent. There is a better way. So if anybody is interested in a natural way to heart health, the information is out there. You just got to go find it, because you're not going to find it at your traditional doctor's office.
And you mentioned also, because people have this idea of bad cholesterol versus good cholesterol, HDL being good, LDL being bad, and you were talking about the importance of LDL, which in people's mind they think, oh, this is bad, but actually LDL is like the shuttle bus of the cholesterol to take the cholesterol to the location where it is needed. Is that correct?
Exactly. The body makes LDL for a reason. Every animal, every mammal on planet Earth, all those other species, they make LDL as well. So the LDL is the bus that shuttles passengers around the body where needed. So the bus takes off from the liver and drops off its passengers, such as cholesterol, such as triglycerides, the storage form of food energy in the body. The CoQ10 is on the LDL shuttle or the LDL bus. Fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, K, phospholipids, which are for brain function and cellular function. The body's doing these things for a reason, but the pharmaceutical industry has, along with the doctors being complicit, has vilified LDL and said it's the bad while the HDL is the good. Well, when you do the advanced testing, you see that the small, dense LDL particles are dangerous. They're often the ones that are oxidized or rusted. So now you've got these rusty small buses, which anybody would tell you is bad, whether you're driving on one or if it's floating around in your body. And then HDLs are not always good. So HDLs have a purpose. They're the scavenger. They're antioxidants, anti-inflammatories. They stimulate insulin production and release from the pancreas. It's very important to have HDL, but they have to be functional HDL. And I think that's one of the next big leaps that we're going to have in nutritional holistic cardiology is the ability to test HDL function, because that's really going to tell us, I think, the most amount of information as to where people are for cardiac risk. And then, of course, the healthy lifestyle stimulates HDL function, and then supplements like berberine, curcumin, resveratrol, those are all very beneficial at improving HDL function.
So with cardiovascular health, I mean, you obviously cholesterol is not the villain. I kind of look upon it as the fireman that happens to be where the fire is, and because of they tend to be there, then all of a sudden they become the reason for the fire. And look upon the cholesterol as kind of the same thing. So what is it that really creates cardiovascular disease in your mind?
Well, I think, as you know, it's a multitude of factors, but as far as other parameters that we're looking for, we definitely want to look for inflammation. Where there is inflammation, which is fire, there is disease. So we want to me, the markers of inflammation are so much more important than the traditional lipid markers of total LDL, total HDL. And typically when you see small, dense LDL particles, you're going to see that they're oxidized or damaged. We can measure ox-LDL, and then also, measuring HSCRP and other markers of inflammation. So we want to do a deep dive and take a look at those factors and improve on those factors. And, when you follow the healthy lifestyle and you're doing the things you need to do, you will prevent disease. And things like, you talked about sunshine, the importance of the exclusion zone, and how the sunshine, charges up the lining of the blood vessels and the energy in the mitochondria, how stress actually activates the inflammatory response. And this is new data that's out there that shows that we as humans we're survivors, and those of us that survived over the last millions of years were the people that had the ability that when there was stress, they would activate the immune response very quickly to help heal from any wound or any trauma. Well, advance now to the year 2018, and the problem is that all the stress is there and the inflammation is there, but the wound never comes. So this chronic stress leads to chronic inflammation, and we better deal with it. And that's really, once again, that's 21st century medicine about how the mental impacts the physical, and you have to address the mental.
That's amazing. And taking a step, additional step is that you kind of, in regards to cancer, you talk about it as being the wound that never heals. So being then in that chronic state of inflammation and chronic amount of stress, and there's no wound really to heal, so then you're then promoting then a cancer process because of these processes that are going on in the body.
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, all disease, and you know this obviously quite well, from your training and your education. To me, all disease is autoimmune, meaning it is either the body attacking itself or it's immune dysfunction. And when the immune system is damaged from a variety of things that we already discussed, the food, the sleep, the lack of sunshine, the stress, the environmental toxins. So now the immune system is damaged. And when the immune system is damaged, it cannot police itself. It cannot find cancerous cells that have mutated for a variety of reasons, and it cannot destroy those cells. So it's all immune dysfunction. And what we need to do is come up with strategies to increase immune function. And why would anyone think that statin drugs, aspirin therapy, prednisone, blood pressure drugs, osteoporosis drugs, antipsychotic drugs, why would anyone think that those help boost immune function? They clearly don't. So, we're clearly not deficient in pharmaceuticals. We're deficient in the healthy lifestyle.
That's for sure. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to HealthMade Radio, and this is Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with bestseller Dr. Jack Wolfson. Welcome back to HealthMade Radio. This is Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Amazon bestseller, the book The Paleo Cardiologist, Dr. Jack Wolfson. So, Dr. Wolfson, we've been talking a lot about some of the issues in regards to especially cardiovascular health, since that is your background. But I want to focus a little bit more specific on the solution. We've delineated how important movement, exercise is, and sunshine. Being in a clean environment. And in regards to eating, what does healthy eating look like for you?
Well, for me, basically, no matter what diet you follow, and I talk about this in the book, no matter what diet you follow, whether you're paleo, whether you're vegan, whether you're going keto, whether you're vegetarian, whether you're Mediterranean, whatever it may be, whatever name we would have put on there, make it organic. Get the chemicals out of your food. Get the chemicals out of your food. Get the chemicals out of your water. Get the chemicals out of your coffee. Get it out of your life, because if you do love coffee, drink organic coffee. It's got all of the phytonutrients. It's got all the caffeine. It's got all the flavor that you love, but it doesn't have the toxic chemicals in there. So same thing with ice cream, same thing with chocolate, same thing with eating free-range grass-fed meats and wild seafood and all the different nuts and seeds that our paleo ancestors enjoyed on a hunter-gatherer diet. To me, there's all different debates about which diet is best. Why not just follow the wisdom of our ancestors, the way they ate for millions of years, and advance it to the 21st century? So, plant-based, tons and tons of plants, but also eating free-range grass-fed meat and certainly wild seafood. Seafood is so important as a source of omega-3, EPA, DHA. You cannot get that if you're not eating seafood. So please eat wild seafood, wild salmon, sardine, anchovy, you name it, best way to go. But like I said, just whatever your vice is, go do it organically.
And you're talking a little bit about seafood, the wild. How about farm raised? What's your thought about that?
Well, basically, would you ever want to eat fish out of a fish tank? And the answer, of course, is no. And farm-raised fish are going to they're going to be missing all of those healthy omega-3s. They're going to be fed some kind of unnatural diet. They are swimming often in filth. So I think there's definitely different levels of farm-raised nowadays. But if you can just go wild as much as possible, that's your best approach. And fortunately, there's plenty of wild sardines that are out there. There's plenty of wild anchovies, those small, tiny fish. And then go ahead and eat your wild salmon. And I'm a huge fan of oysters, shrimp, lobster. Before we were talking about sunshine exposure. Well, shrimp and lobster, what makes them red when you cook them is a little phytonutrient called astaxanthin. And astaxanthin has been shown to be very protective against sunburn. So you can take an astaxanthin supplement and it will work, or you can go ahead and just eat the shellfish. Red marine algae also is a good source of astaxanthin. So lots of different options to boost that up. And then also I'm a huge fan of fermented foods. So kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha. Dr. Mike, the only time I've had soy, because there's everything is GMO soy these days. The only time I've had soy and it's bad for many reasons, is when I eat the Japanese fermented food called natto. And if you can find a good organic source of natto, there's a company out in New York called NY. They're Nurture, but it's spelled NYRTURE. I've got no vested interest in the company, only to promote the company because it's a great product. And they have organic natto, and natto may be the secret to Japanese longevity, why they live 6-7 years longer than we do. Single highest source of vitamin K2, and nothing else is even close. And K2 keeps the calcium in the bones and out of the arteries.
Yeah, and it's I know vitamin K2 is so crucial for our gut health. It feeds the bacteria. So in addition to obviously healthy fermented foods, and to add the K2 to kind of feed the gut, that's crucial. So what does a daily diet look like for you? I'm curious. I mean, you're so well versed, and you're so you promote this so strongly and believe in this so strongly. So what does your diet look like in a snapshot?
Well, every morning I wake up and I have a combination powder. So it's the daily greens along with beetroot powder is in there, and then chlorella spirulina. I mix those all together, and that is my morning drink. Very oftentimes we use a product like a Daily Defense type product, which is chocolate or vanilla grass-fed whey protein shake, and then maybe I'll add the greens to that as well. But that's typically my breakfast. On the weekends, we'll tend to do eggs with bacon or eggs with salmon. We'll do occasionally, maybe once or twice a month, we do gluten-free pancakes with organic maple syrup or some kind of organic jam or jelly. And then oftentimes also what I do is I love making my own quote-unquote cereal. So it's a grain-free cereal where I combine nuts and seeds along with raw cacao, coconut flakes, and go ahead and put a nut milk on there. And that's my cereal. I love organic India psyllium husk powder. Is a great source of fiber to bind up toxins. So you get rid of them out the other side. Those are pretty much all of my different breakfast options. And I think that's, the reality is that there's so many different things. And then, by the way, when I do make the eggs, I just open up the spice drawer, and spices are nature's pharmacy. I open up the spice drawer and I just dump it into my food. And rosemary, thyme, oregano, turmeric, cumin, marjoram, all those things are all phenomenal. And then occasionally we'll do raw dairy from a pasture-raised, free-range source.
I'm getting more and more hungry as you're speaking.
Me too.
That's awesome.
Me too.
Another project, I know we're kind of running out of time, but another project that I was curious about, I see the school project that you have in regards to non-polluted eco school that you run in Arizona. Tell me, just a couple of minutes, tell me a little bit about that project.
Well, the most important thing in the world to me are my wife and my children. And the health of the children is absolutely critical, and that's what I love speaking on and love to promote. For my children, for your children, and for everybody's children. And children deserve to live and grow and thrive in an environment that nourishes the body, supports the body, as opposed to tearing it down. So we want our children to be outside and playing in that sunshine. We want them to not have to wake up at the crack of dawn to get to school. We want them to get their sleep. When they go to school, they should be able to have foods that if it wasn't prepared at home, well, then we've got an organic meal for you, and we've got quality filtered water for you, and you're not going to have artificial cleaning agents and bleaches and toxins, in our school. And the school itself will not be full of outgassing chemicals. So we want to create an eco school unlike any other. And there's some people that have done it before, but not near to the level that we want to take it to. As of right now, we're still in the planning and the fundraising stages of what we're trying to do. But it's really about creating that opportunity for children, because so much disease starts in the womb. It starts when they're really young. And if we can put them in that healthy environment right out of the chute, they're going to do just some great things.